The CIA has been working to arm Iranian Kurdish opposition forces with the goal of fomenting civil unrest in Iran. And they spoke to a number of different officials who characterized it in different ways. Some talked about sort of basically trying to pin down Iranian forces to create buffer zones where ordinary Iranians who are unarmed would have more freedom to go out on the streets and protest. Certainly, our source that we spoke to said that the focus is very much on establishing control of a sort of semi-autonomous Kurdish-run area of Iran.
Welcome back, folks, and buckle up. We're diving deep into a truly wild story today. The kind of geopolitical drama that makes your head spin. It involves the CIA, Benjamin Netanyahu, and a supposed plot to spark a civil war in Iran using the Kurds. Sounds like a Hollywood thriller, right? But the implications for American foreign policy and our wallets are very, very real. Let's get into it and roll the tape.
Well, the Israelis are getting closer to their dream of destabilizing and balkanizing Iran with the help of our CIA, of course. Now, it sounds like a lot. It sounds a lot like what we did in Syria and Afghanistan. And it didn't work out so well, but maybe that's the point. So this will make the path to accomplishing the Greater Israel Project a little easier for the Israelis, but what does it mean for the whole of the Middle East?
Hold on a minute. Greater Israel Project? That phrase alone should raise a few eyebrows, especially when it's being linked to destabilizing a sovereign nation with American taxpayer dollars and CIA involvement. It's the same old tune, isn't it? We get dragged into conflicts, supposedly for our own interests, but somehow it always seems to benefit other nations' agendas first. And what does it mean for the whole of the Middle East? It means more chaos, more instability, and inevitably, more refugees and more anti-American sentiment. We've seen this movie before in Iraq, Libya, and Syria. The script never changes, only the names of the countries we help to destroy in the process. It's a classic case of mission creep, before the mission even officially begins.
So US officials told the Wall Street Journal that the Trump administration, and Trump in particular, seems pretty open to the idea of backing Iranian groups willing to arm themselves in an effort to overthrow the regime in Iran, the IRCG. Now, the Kurds have thousands of soldiers along the Iran-Iraq border, and they control strategic areas that could be significant for the United States and Israel as this war escalates and continues to develop. On top of that, Axios, Barak Ravid, who's an insider when it comes to Israel, reports that the Trump administration has even had communications with Kurdish leaders. Trump has had phone calls with a Kurdish leader in particular. So he spoke to leaders actually from two main Kurdish factions in Iraq, Masoud Barzani and Bafel Talabani, a day after the Saturday bombing campaign in Iran began. So the calls were apparently a culmination, and get a load of this is important, were the culmination of months of behind the scenes lobbying by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, another source said. Israel has had close security, military, and intelligence ties with Kurds in Syria, Iraq, and Iran for decades. In other words, they get a group of stateless people to do their dirty work for them. And that's what the Kurds do. And they get betrayed every single time. I'm going to give you examples of that in just a moment. But before I do, just a few more details. Netanyahu was the first to bring this idea of arming the Kurds and sending them into Iran to spark a civil war. He's the first one who brought this up to Trump. And he's been lobbying pretty hard to use the Kurds to sow unrest in Iran. And so US officials claim that Trump has not made up his mind yet. If you were on social media today, you might have seen some posts claiming that armed Kurds had already started their offensive. But those statements, including one of the statements that was made by Barak Ravid, were walked back. Ravid deleted a tweet where he claimed that the Kurds were already in action. However, one person says that it is the general view, and certainly Netanyahu's view, that the Kurds are going to come out of the woodwork and they're going to rise up, one official said. So, look, in previous conflicts, let's say in Syria, where we armed terrorist groups like Al Qaeda and the Kurds, by the way, or in Afghanistan, we did something very similar to what they're planning to do here with balkanizing Iran. You know, we arm the Kurds. A lot of them get killed. They never get anything out of it, really, right? And it's all of this is hidden from the American people. These like little CIA ops arming these various factions and various groups. It's all done undercover. But with the Trump administration, it's kind of amazing. Like they're just very candid about what they're thinking about doing, how they're planning to intentionally spark a civil war to destabilize a sovereign country on behalf of another foreign country, on behalf of Israel. So it's really incredible stuff here. So there's more. 6 days before the war began, 5 Kurdish groups in Iraq specifically forces to make up what they called the Coalition of Political Forces of Iranian Kurdistan. And the whole point was to wage a war against Iran. So why the Kurds? Well, the Kurds have significant forces along the border between Iraq and Iran, and Israeli bombing of sites in Western Iran has fueled speculation that it is seeking to clear the path for a Kurdish advance. That was reported by Haaretz, by the way, Israeli paper. So I definitely believe that the Israelis and the armed Kurds are working hand in glove. Do I believe that Trump is still, he's undecided. He doesn't know what he's going to do. I have no idea. Trump seems undecided about everything. He seems like he's just stumbling and bumbling through what could be one of the most devastating wars the US has been dragged into. Now, the Kurds would have to be literally the dumbest people alive to trust Donald Trump of all people. Because remember, we armed the Kurds in Syria. We had the Kurds do our dirty work for us and fight ISIS in Syria. And then in October of 2019, Trump decided to abandon the Kurds in Syria, making way for the Turks to come in and massacre them.
Okay, folks, let's hit the brakes here for a second. The speaker just laid out a crucial point that many conveniently forget. Trump did abandon the Kurds. And while some will scream about America first and pull out of the endless wars, a sentiment I generally agree with, the way it was handled was a complete disaster. It wasn't about strategic withdrawal. It was about leading allies high and dry after they fought our battles. This isn't just a foreign policy blunder. It's a moral failure that sends a clear message to any future potential allies. Don't trust America to have your back. You can't just flip a switch on alliances without massive repercussions, both for those on the ground and for our global standing. It shows a fundamental misunderstanding of how alliances work, or should work.
So what am I talking about? Well, Trump greenlit a Turkish invasion that did make that massacre possible. And if you don't believe me, or if you don't remember, here's how Trump defended his decision to do so.
The president saying today the Kurds are, quote, no angels, saying their fight has nothing to do with us. And now we see the letter President Trump wrote to the president of Turkey saying history will look upon you as the devil if good things don't happen.
We've been talking to Turkey for 3 years. They've been wanting to do this for many years, as you know. They've been fighting each other for centuries. They've been fighting each other for hundreds of years. This has been going on. We were put into this battle. Kurds are fighting for their land, just so you understand. They didn't help us in the Second World War. They didn't help us with Normandy, as an example.
They didn't help us with Normandy. Okay. So will the Kurds get involved? Honestly, at this point, we don't know. Like I said earlier, there were already some erroneous reports claiming that the Kurds were already armed and fighting in action. They were already in Iran causing chaos, but those claims were then walked back. The fact that this was thought up by Netanyahu makes me believe that it's going to happen, whether we like it or not, whether Trump likes it or not. Remember, Trump is Netanyahu's bitch, so he will do what he is told. And if Netanyahu wants the Kurds to go in, the Kurds will go in. Trump's just going to have to deal with it.
Whoa, folks, this saying of Trump is Netanyahu's bitch? Let's pump the brakes on that inflammatory rhetoric for a second. While it's clear there's a strong relationship between the US and Israel, and between Trump and Netanyahu specifically, reducing the President of the United States to someone's bitch is not only disrespectful, it completely ignores the complex geopolitical realities at play. It's a cheap shot, plain and simple, designed to rile people up rather than engage in serious analysis. Does Israel lobby hard for its interests? Of course, absolutely. Just like countless other nations and special interest groups do in Washington. But to suggest Trump or any US president is a mere puppet is a gross oversimplification. It's the kind of hyperbole that undermines any legitimate criticism one might have of foreign policy decisions. Let's just stick to facts, folks, not playground insults when discussing international relations, please.
You know, what are you, like the leader of a country of 330 million people? How dare you? How about you shut up and do as you're told, Trump? And he will. He'll listen to his daddy, like the little bitch that he is. And so, nonetheless, there's evidence that the National Army of Kurdistan, the military wing of the Kurdish nationalist militant group known as the Kurdistan Freedom Party, or PAK, was part of the armed riots that led to complete chaos and death in Iran not too long ago during those protests. Remember when that happened? This is also a little bit tricky because the Kurds are not fans of the Shah or the Shah's son, Pahlavi, who the Israelis would like to install as their puppet, as the leader of Iran. So that could get a little messy, And, they do have a hostile relationship with Turkey, the United States and NATO, but they never hesitate to be used as cannon fodder for America and Israel's dirty wars. So the Kurdish leader in Iran, Mustafa Jidri, who apparently is the leader of KDPI, that's one of the Kurdish militia groups, issued a statement on X earlier today. And here is what he claims. The US and Israeli strikes on the security and military bases of the Islamic Republic of Iran's regime often pose a grave threat to the lives of civilians and ordinary people. I urge all soldiers and personnel who possess choice and a desire for freedom across Iran, and especially in Kurdistan, to abandon the barracks and security and military bases of the regime's IRGC army and return to their family homes. This would be in their own best interest, both during these strikes and afterward. It would spare them from the fate of the security forces and the regime's crackdowns. So it looks like there might be some disagreement or dissent within, these various Kurdish groups, these Kurdish militias.
This is where it gets really murky, isn't it? On one hand, you have this alleged plot to ignite a civil war. And on the other hand, you have this dissenting voices and within the Kurd groups themselves urging soldiers to abandon their post. It highlights the inherent danger and the complexities of using proxy forces. You think you're pulling strings, but these are real people with their own agendas, their own leaders, and their own historical grievances. The idea that we can just arm the Kurds and expect them to be a perfectly compliant, monolithic force for our strategic goals is naive at best and disastrous at worst. It's like trying to play chess with a swarm of bees. You might think you're controlling them, but they're just doing their own thing, and unfortunately, someone's bound to get stung.
So who knows what is at play and what is to come? But what we do know, without a shadow of the doubt, is that Netanyahu wants to arm the Kurds and have them sow chaos in Iran, civil war in Iran, and our CIA is trying to make it happen. Whether or not it happens remains to be seen, but we'll follow through with the story and update you as it develops.
So, folks, whether Trump is undecided or Netanyahu's bitch, as the previous speaker so elegantly put it, the bottom line is terrifyingly clear. There are powerful forces actively trying to ignite a civil war in Iran. And if history is any guide, America and the American people We'll be left to pick up the pieces and foot the bill. This isn't just about geopolitics. It's about real lives, real instability, and the potential for a regional configuration that could make past conflicts look like minor skirmishes. So tell me, what do you think? Is this a necessary evil to counter the Iranian regime, or another catastrophic foreign policy blunder waiting to happen? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more unfiltered truth. And as always, stay vigilant, Patriots, stay vigilant.